And he disappeared halfway through. Oh, he's back again.
Hey,
hey, what's up, everybody?
Yep, I'm back.
Hi, Chantel.
It got frozen for a second, so that's why I had to log out quickly and come back in.
No worries, dude. No worries. Michael, thank you for joining us. Jeff, Hefty. So, guys watching, obviously, Hefty is in the comments. He's not on tonight because he's going away.
he's in a car.
Days getting out of there. So, hope you're good, Hefty, and hope you're having a good time, dude. And drive safe. Yes. So tonight, obviously, we're just waiting on. Kerry's having a few problems with her internet at the moment because we have got bad weather in this country at the moment. And Mr. Simon Entwistle is on his way. So for now, I thought any news going on. So Nick, obviously your stories. How are you getting on with them, buddy?
Yes. Yeah. Just finished stories number 8 and 9 last night. So got 8 more stories to go, and then it's got to be to the music and sound effects. So that'll be won't be as terrible as it has been.
Yeah. How long does it take to edit that then for like one story?
Oh my God. It takes about let's see, a couple hours. I can tell you that. I've never really made a time duration of how long it takes.
Yeah.
So
I know
it takes a while.
For us, like when I do obviously our videos, about a 10-minute video that you'll see on YouTube, the dolls and that takes about 3 hours, 4 hours to edit.
Yep.
That's after I've watched it for 3 or 4 hours as well.
Yeah, the editing process isn't fun, you know.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It takes a long time.
It's not. It really isn't.
And it just shows like it's like something that looks so simple can take so long to put together, just for a few minutes.
Well, that's what my kids say. That can I do a YouTube channel, or can I do a video for the other channel that I had? And I'm like, you don't understand. Like, I'll sit down and do these little video game, and 10 minutes. I take 60 clips and I cut it down to less than 10 minutes, and it takes me 6 hours. Like it's just not. It's so time consuming, and for them to sit down and do it, they'll have a 6-hour YouTube video up.
The thing is, people don't want to see something that's taken a long time to make. They just want to see the
end result. And this is why like people that do all this editing and stuff like that, like they're severely overlooked because they're the ones that work the hardest.
Yep, 100%.
Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. But guys, thank you for joining us in the comments.
Right.
I can't even pronounce that name. Reap. I don't know. Apologies. I don't know how to pronounce your first name, but Reap. How you doing? Thank you for joining us. Irene, thank you for joining us.
Oh,
God. Yeah, Nick, you got your sugar cubes tonight.
Guess what,
You're
guys?
surrounded by him, dude.
Oh God.
She look like a sugar cube now.
He's one giant sugar cube.
He should get a square helmet that looks like that to wear for the show.
Tuna, thank you for joining us, Tuna. But yeah, tonight, so guys, we'll be talking about Karahan Tepe, obviously after Simon comes on. So this is our Ancient Mysteries special. If there is actually, guys, while you're on, if there's any ancient mysteries that you know of or that you want us to talk about on a show, drop us in either in the comments or a message to one of us, and we'll do a show on one of them. It can be any sort of mystery. It can be the pyramids. It could be Stonehenge. Anything that you think on, we'll do shows on them. This is something that's going to be quite a common thing that we're going to be doing is ancient mysteries plus the UFO specials, which is coming up on the
23rd.
23rd, yeah. Yep. Yeah, 23rd. So
we want to stay tuned in on.
Yeah, that's going to be a big show because your mum's coming back on as well, isn't she?
Yes, my mom's going to be on. She's going to talk. She's had not quite a few. She's had a couple of UFO experiences that are pretty insane. That kind of match up with a bunch of other stories from a couple coworkers of mine.
Yeah.
And then also, if anybody hasn't read the UFO documents or didn't want to take the time to read it, I can really kind of cut through the BS of that and really kind of tell you what those documents actually, any good information that was in them. So
Yeah.
Hopefully, she doesn't do any googling as well on that.
Yeah,
show.
well, no. That'll be for Adam's channel. We're not going to do that here.
Yeah, we're not going to do it. Oh my god, that went so badly so fast. Oh my god. What was I at then? So yeah, we're going to talk about Karahan Tepe tonight. So guys, if you probably remember back a few months ago, is it now? It's been a while. Hasn't it?
It's about a month and a half.
About a month and a half. Yeah, we talked about, is it Gobekli Tepe?
Gobekli Tepe, yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying that really wrong probably, but so as you guys know, is Gobekli Tepe was like this site that was built by the tribal people, like nomads, weren't they? That they had no agriculture.
They were basically hunter gatherers.
Yeah, that's it, hunter gatherers. And they built these structures that were like almost like temples, weren't they? Yeah,
they were. They don't know exactly what they were for. The theory behind them was they're like a spiritual temple. T-shaped pillars in a circle, and that's where they would go to worship and stuff like that. I mean, that's their best guess. This site is so old that there really isn't much information except for the structures that are there, and there's no real documentation on it because of how old it is.
Yeah, and this one apparently is supposed to be older than Gobekli Tepe.
Yeah.
So this site was actually started being excavated only in 2019. So it's only 2 years old?
2 years, yeah.
And well, obviously because of COVID and that's probably they probably haven't been able to do a lot for a while.
Well, a lot of the resources too were for Gobekli Tepe, and then they found this site, so they're trying to like either take a small chunk of that crew and put it over because it's not that far away. I mean, what's it? 30 kilometers or something, like 35 kilometers east. Yeah. Of Gobekli Tepe. It's not that far away. Border. Right.
Which is crazy. Guys, in the comments, I'm just going to write down those things you said. Obviously, Irene, the one that you said, and Chantel, those ones that you said. We'll do some shows on that.
He's got to get his daily life book out.
I have to write things down because I forget. I'm getting old.
Getting old? You're coming for 28.
You're going grey. Why do you think my hair's so short?
I write things down because I forget, but I forget to write things down, so I forget everything.
Honestly, I'm so bad. Apologies, guys. I'm so bad. Shinto Shrine, I got that on Irene, and Chantel said the cameras in Mexico. That's something we could. Cameras, Mexico.
That's one thing you'd probably touch on too at some point is like the ancient mysteries in like Japan and China.
Yeah,
they got a lot of huge history in those countries. So, maybe do something on that.
Even if we just did like the Great Wall of China and that stuff, because things like that. Because even that's like I know it's obviously So, dude.
I was actually gonna say, you know who else would be great to talk about, like ancient? No, you know, like another person, obviously, to talk to about with, ancient mysteries in Africa would obviously be Mike Ricksteiger because he was just visiting the Great Pyramids.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he was. I followed his Facebook feed every day, and the pictures that he was taking, and like he was taking pictures of things that you don't typically see on documentaries. You know, it was just crazy stuff over there. So that was really cool.
He went to the one as well that has that the hieroglyphs of the helicopter and that, didn't he?
Yep. He took a picture of that. That was up on it was like a border that went across the top of the wall or something. That was one that was really focused on because there was a tank, there was a helicopter, there was an airplane, there was like multiple things that were depicted that looked like things that we have now that they did not have back then.
Yeah, I think definitely we'll get Mike back on and we'll do Ancient Mystery special on obviously Egypt and that and the pyramids because he's been there inside.
Yeah, he could fill that whole show just with his trip easily.
Oh, definitely. That's interesting, Chantal. I have heard something about that before. That these things like that. Wasn't it? I probably got this wrong, but didn't T-Bone say something about that? If you put a line against all of them, they all circle like the equator, all these different monuments.
Yes, yep, they're on the same. God, it's
long.
They're on the same longitude or latitude. They're on the same. I don't know if there's like a magnetic field or whatever it is, but they're all. If you plot it out, it's a straight line. They're all in the same spot, and it lines up with other temples as well around the world.
We never said we were a scientific channel.
No.
Yeah, don't rely
Longitude,
on
Chantal. Yeah, longitude. Yeah.
Longitude.
There you go, longitude. Yeah. No, it's latitude, isn't it?
Oh God.
Is it longitude? I don't know.
Dude, we're not going science. Let's not
It's
go
sideways
there.
anyway. Go around that way, not up and down. Oh my God. We're supposed to be the intelligent one. And Nick's left. He's got that thought.
He was like, "Yeah, we're not becoming a science channel."
Yeah.
Listen, you guys fire me right now. You're on your own. Literally.
This show could end up being the shortest show we've ever done. Oh my God.
But yeah, a lot of those ancient sites, they'll line up with, you know, like who was saying about the Chantal, the pyramids. If you take the pyramids and they literally look just like the belt of Orion, because you've got the two bigger stars and then you got the smaller one that's just kind of up and over a little bit. And if you look at the belt of Orion, it's the same way.
It's crazy.
I almost believe it was almost like a map for beings for our planet, almost.
Yeah, it could have been.
To locate certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think as well, like when they obviously built these things, they didn't really have any knowledge of the Earth like we do. They didn't know that there was like the Arctic and all these different places.
Right.
They just knew where they were, and the only thing they could see was the stars.
Right.
So I think that's why, and then obviously the ones that stand out is Orion's belt and like these kind of constellations. I think that's probably why a lot of them match them. But to get them that exact, because aren't they only like off by like a degree, and that could even be down to the Earth moving?
Yes.
That's
because the Earth will tilt and stuff like that, and like it changes, you know, over hundreds of, you know, thousands of years. It'll change by a few degrees or whatever. But the fact that they have like the pyramids that match Orion's belt, you know, within a degree, and then they're also across the planet. They had to have some knowledge of something, because these things line up all the way around the planet. How much of a coincidence would that be if they're all on the same latitudinal line or the longitudinal line or whichever one it is? But to be on the same line all the way around, straight line, it should be zigzag. It should just be all over the place.
Yeah, and you got to think as well, like back then they had no technology, so communication around the world was impossible. I mean, even look now, we're struggling to get hold of Nick.
Yeah, he's closer to me than he is to you.
And yet back then they had like nothing. How could they talk to each other and say, "Oh, let's all build it in this place," so they're all in a ring? They couldn't.
No,
is that coincidence? It's crazy to think about. That's crazy, Irene. Even the knowledge of the samurai sword was sent by an alien from outer space, because no one had the knowledge to make a sword line. It's true, the samurai sword is still like one of the most complex swords ever made, isn't it? Yeah. What else we got in here?
Hefty sends his love.
Yeah, Hefty, hope you're doing good. Nick is now on. I've got two screens of Nick at the bottom.
I've got one and he's frozen.
I've got two.
Now I've got two. Dude, fire him. Fire him right now.
Nick 1, Nick 2. Which Nick are we going for? Oh my God.
Hopefully one that speaks.
This could be just the Tom and Amy and Marty show.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody. This has been Tom and Amy's Paranormal Mysteries. It was a great show. We talked about Karahan Tepe.
Even just because, obviously, guys, you can search Karahan Tepe. The only really information that we've got is off Wikipedia.
Yep, that's exactly where I found it too.
I'm really sure. Here he is. Hey, dude.
Hello there, folks. I do.
Hey, Simon.
I do apologise for being quite late. I've just been a bit busy. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
No, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you on.
And a pleasure to be on. Thank you very much indeed.
No worries. So guys, obviously that haven't maybe not heard of you before, you can tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do and what you've done?
Right. I'm an independent tour guide. I cover a variety of coach tours across Lancashire, Yorkshire, Cumbria. But I also cover 11 different guided ghost, murder, and mystery walks that have proved quite popular, really.
Yeah.
There's nothing I like more than collecting ghost stories, because I find they're by far the most interesting ones, really.
Okay.
That's crazy. So what kind of places do you do the ghost tours at?
Places like City of Carlisle, City of York. I cover Greater Manchester, Lancashire, and beautiful little villages as well, really.
Yeah. That's awesome. I bet you've heard a lot of stories from the people that you've met along your way. Like,
you've hit it on the nail, really. I find the best way to get a story is not to read about it, but to meet local people. And you can always tell when someone's being very honest. You can always tell when someone's, shall I say, making fun of you, or to use a great British phrase, pulling your leg, really.
Yeah.
What made you go into this field? Obviously, your job. Was it a personal experience from childhood that made you really like the paranormal field?
I joined the army many years ago, and I was sent to the City of York, and I literally fell in love with York, really. York has some 8 different guided ghost walks every night. You've got Victorian one, you've got a Viking one, a Roman one, and I got bitten by the bug way back in 1996. And as a result, I started my own tours. The first one, I think, had about 3 or 4 people on it. And then I suddenly found I was doing a job that I really enjoyed. And I was getting a lot of job satisfaction. And it's like anything, if you're enthusiastic about storytelling or anything, you'll do well in life, really.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like, to do, especially to get satisfaction out of doing something you love. Like, because I know a lot of people, almost everybody doesn't. They do a job. It's just a job. It pays the bills. But to get a job like that,
you actually love.
And get the satisfaction out, and then also to meet the people and get the stories, that must really be like the highlight for you.
Yeah, the huge payoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. There's nothing like more than if someone would telephone me or arrange a meeting to sit down and hear a really good spine-tingling eyewitness ghost story is something else, really. As I said before, you can always tell when someone's, shall we say, pulling your leg or making the story up. But I personally do believe in ghosts, and it was really from my own father that convinced me there is another life after this one, and that ghosts really do exist.
Oh, okay. So, because we spoke before on the show that obviously the generations before, talking about ghosts and stuff like that was very, like, I think taboo. Yeah, taboo. Yeah. You didn't do. It was like a case of it was all rubbish. So that's interesting to say that your father actually got you into it as well. So.
Well, this is quite an intriguing story, and I suppose in many ways it's probably an ideal story to start with, really. We'll turn the clock back to 1960. I was just 5 years old, and my father bought a very, very beautiful house in South Cumbria, just outside the Lake District. And I remember arriving there in December 1960 from the Pickford's vehicle and being absolutely blown away at this gorgeous Victorian house in its own grounds, with the Lake District peaks behind it. And although I was only 5, I realised I was extremely lucky to live there. However, I had no idea that night, as my brother, sister and I were put to bed early, we were all under the age of 10, Mum and Dad carried on working, and they had lots of tea chests full of crockery, etc. And they worked till around 2 o'clock in the morning unloading the tea chests. They then made their own bed up. The last job that needed to be done was to put up any curtains, because it was a country house. So they left the curtains for the following day. And my father told me that he got into bed and there was bright moonlight emanating into the bedroom. He turned over and he heard the sound of tiny footsteps. The door of the bedroom slowly opened and in came a liver and white Cocker Spaniel. He thought, how's that dog got in here? He got out of bed, walked towards the dog to grab its collar to take it downstairs, when his hand went straight for the creature. He stood back and made another attempt, and his hand went straight for the dog again. He said the hair on the back of his head literally rose. The dog then turned to look at the window, as if its name was being called, and then it faded away. My mother was in a very deep sleep at the time, and she woke up with a jolt and said, "I've had a strange dream. There's a man outside in Victorian clothing with a dog lead in his hand, pointing up at our bedroom window." My father then told her what had happened, and they put two and two together. Now, Mum and Dad never told me the story. Mum and Dad never told me the story.
Sorry.
Until I was about 15 years old. And I really grew to love the house, and still do, actually. And it broke my heart when Mum and Dad sold the house in the 1970s. But this is where the story gets even better. About 3 years ago, my wife and I, we went on a Mediterranean cruise. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And I went down to the restaurant for an evening meal, black tie event. And there was a young lady that kept smiling at me from the other table. And I thought, I really cannot be that good looking. As it happens, she knew me. She had been on my tours. And as it happened, she was called Louise Doolan, lovely girl. She was the events manager on the P&O ship Oceana, where we were on holiday. I said, "Simon, I do like your tours. Have you ever thought about doing a PowerPoint show?" I said, "Well, would people like ghosts, murders and mysteries?" She said, "Well, I think they may do, it's worth trying." She gave me an email address when I got back to England, and I emailed P&O. And much to my surprise, within 3 days, I'd been put forward for an audition. I was told I could go to Sussex or to Cumbria. Now, living in Lancashire as I do, Cumbria is the next county, so obviously I chose Cumbria. I was given a telephone number, and I telephoned the cruise director, a lady called Maureen. Said, "Simon, my house is rather hard to find, but I'll give you a sat-nav code, and if you bring your laptop and your projector, we'll have the audition at 2:30 on a Tuesday afternoon." So I put the sat-nav in and set off. And I found myself driving towards the city of Lancaster, up towards South Lakeland, an area I knew really well, straight up what we call Heversham Head, which is like a limestone outcrop, and right down to the driveway to that very house my father sold. When I got there, I was jaded. And the door opened, there was Maureen. She said, "Simon, come on, we've got to get this audition done. You look a bit jaded. What's the problem?" "Maureen, I used to live here." No. "I used to live here, Maureen. I used to live here. I've got some pictures on my laptop, which I showed her to confirm it." She said, "Let's have a cup of tea." She came back with a tray of tea, and I sat down on the sofa next to her, and I told her about my childhood experiences and then my father's experience. And that's when the teacup and the saucer fell through her fingers and smashed on the floor. Her eyes widened open. She said, "Simon, my brother lives in London. The very first Christmas we moved here, he spent Christmas with us. He would have slept in what would have been your mother and father's bedroom. In the early hours of the morning, the door opened, and in came a liver and white Cocker Spaniel."
That's brilliant.
I looked at the ceiling and said, "Thank you, Dad. Thank you." Yeah. It's a very true story. And to answer your question, that's exactly why I do believe that ghosts exist, because my father would not lie. But to go back to the exact house, I'm told there's about 44 million to 1 against.
That is incredible. That's just nuts.
Yeah, those are types of stories that you can't make up. And then the confirmation, how many years later,
I swear to you, it is true. Yeah.
Believe you 100%.
Yeah, I mean, and this is just so why I love doing this, because the people we meet and they hear the stories like that.
Oh, that's exactly why Simon that's why you do what you do. You hear stories like you're telling us your story, but you also hear stories when you do your tours.
Yeah,
so it's the same thing.
Very much so. And it's a fabulous feeling. Just occasionally I do a bit of work on the stage and local radio, and you never ever run out of material, because I've got literally batteries and batteries of stories up there, and I like to do best of, if you will, sometimes.
That's and to go back and like I said, to be in the same house. Yeah, that's like the chances of that happening. It's almost impossible. Oh, Nick's come back.
I'm told 44 million to 1 against, actually. About 44 million to 1 against. But as I walked into that place, I always felt as if that house wanted me back. almost if it wanted me back. And I still love the building with all my heart, but I just felt so honoured and so delighted to walk back in there again.
It just shows these things happen for
It's
reasons.
confirmation.
Right, and you walked back in there. It was almost like you were put there on purpose to confirm your father's story, because how would she know any of that? You know what I mean? And then you were there for a reason.
Exactly. But as I walked inside there, it was almost like a time warp, because the last time I was in that room, I'd be 14 or 15 years old,
Right.
and it was like walking back in time again. It was incredible. It really was.
That's crazy. That's like a bit like, I know it's not been that long, but I moved out of our house I lived in for 19 years. I moved out nearly 10 years ago now. I still get dreams about that place, and it's almost like me going back there, and for a random reason like that. I couldn't imagine that. That's nuts. Nick, are you with us now? Are you, buddy? Are you good?
Yeah, sorry, I was having serious internet problems. We had to reboot the whole entire system to try to get back on. So I was,
you seem to be good now,
really
dude.
starting to get really bothered by it. Yeah,
No.
Simon, great to finally meet you, I got to say.
Nick, it's a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you for kindly inviting me.
You're very
You've just
welcome.
missed an incredible story, Nick. Like that summit that's. We've definitely got. Obviously, you've got to hear that from him again, like, because that was nuts. Tonight, though, Simon, we haven't got Kerry. She's struggling with internet at the moment. She's normally on. She's our psychic medium that comes on. She's struggling really bad with her internet, because at the moment, as you can imagine, there's storms going around everywhere at the moment. So she's struggling that. And Hefty, who is in the comments, he's usually on the show, but he's out. He's on the road. He's going to a movie night, I think, isn't he? To see a few movies. So a bit about us, because obviously it's the first time you're meeting us. So me and Amy.
I was always a believer.
You've always been a believer,
grown
haven't you?
up with experiencing ghosts from a very young age,
Mm.
and then obviously met you, and you were a non-believer.
I was a complete skeptic through and through for
A long time.
about 20 years. I'm 28 now, and then meeting you.
I opened up your world.
And now we've like spiraled. We do our own show. We collect haunted dolls. We
And lots and lots of equipment.
we really gone for it now, and we're collecting this evidence, like you saying, with these stories and this and that, and we put it on our YouTube channel. Marty, he's our UFO expert. He's the UFO man.
I'm out there.
he goes down that rabbit hole. Nick is just, he's an encyclopedia of paranormal. He's
Nicopedia.
Nicopedia.
Nicopedia, there you go.
Everything. He does his scary stories. He does
He's been to
talking books.
lots of different
For
locations.
scary
As well.
stories. Yeah, he investigates everywhere. Obviously, I said Kerry's the psychic medium. We've got Hefty, who's our horror
Specialist.
horror specialist. Anything horror, speak to Hefty. He will tell you everything.
He's even got the mask as well.
He's got the massive.
Oh, yeah. He's got everything.
We've got a real
Mixed bag.
broad bag of people, but that's what makes this show great for us. And then having the guys like you on that brings your stories, and it's incredible. I love it, absolutely love it.
Just quickly, would you say obviously you were in the army? Is that what you said?
I joined the army when I was 19 years old, a long time ago, and the infantry training school was actually in the city of York.
Okay.
And of course, in the evening you could go into York, and I used to love going the ghost walks there. And as I say, in 1996, I started my own tours off, but based very, very much on the same sort of atmosphere that you do get in York. But I don't just use ghost stories, I do use mysteries as well, and murders. A lot of Victorian murders are quite interesting, really. And it would be about 5 years ago, I got a National Tourism Award, and I was invited to the City of London to Tower Bridge, where I met the Visit England people. And there I met a lovely girl called Jacqueline, who does the brilliant Jack the Ripper tours, and she said, Simon, you got to come on the tour. And I did do, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the following night I went on the tour again, and she said, right, Simon, I'm off to Ibiza in 3 weeks' time. You're going to take over. And I did do for 14 days, thoroughly enjoyed it. It was something totally different.
Mm.
But what was so nice is that you were working with people from all over the planet. London does draw tourists from all over the world.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is the best thing about
What's
it.
your take on army houses then? Because growing up in an army lifestyle, my dad was in the army for 22 years, being like an army brat, as they call it.
I was the army for 6 years as well.
Yeah. I find army houses are quite paranormal in themselves with the history.
There's a lot of emotion, isn't there? And a huge amount of emotion and stress in the armed forces. I remember joining up and being told I would go to Belize, I'd go to the South American jungles, and all I saw was Berlin and Belfast. You know?
That's a bit like now, like I was told to go everywhere. All I've seen is Cyprus and Kenya.
My dad's been to a couple of places, Afghanistan and that, and he's seen some stuff that he to this day won't disclose what he saw.
Yeah. It's crazy world, but I think like what you said about the houses and the emotion, I think that is a recipe for a lot of the hauntings.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. Would you like a military ghost story?
Definitely,
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Again, this is a story from the heart, from a gentleman I met called William Lakin. And Bill, as he was called, Bill came to my house. He reached into his pocket and brought out a photograph of 57 young lads. The tallest at the front, the shortest at the back. On the back of the photograph was everyone's name and the words, Clitheroe Territorial Army, September 1939, when Great Britain and the Commonwealth declared war on Nazi Germany. The photograph was taken. They were sent to a place called the Maginot Line in France, and the French said it was totally impregnable. The Germans will never get through here. Bill would walk up and down the Maginot Line. He would wave at German troops. They'd wave back. And he even bartered British bully beef for German stew, British cigarettes for German cigarettes. It was called the Phony War, but this all changed on the 10th of May, 1940, when the Germans launched what we now call Blitzkrieg, Lightning War. And they didn't bother going for the Maginot Line. They went round the back of it. And Bill's commanding officer was told, right, boys, leave all your equipment. We're going to Dunkirk. When Bill got to Dunkirk, the whole town was on fire. There was black smoke everywhere. And as he got to the sand dunes, he was absolutely shattered. He took his tin helmet off and used it as a shovel to dig into the side of a sand dune, climbed inside the sand dune, and fell into a deep sleep. Whilst he was sleeping, the Luftwaffe, the German the Air Force, strafed the beach 3 times, and 4 of his mates were killed. He was rudely awakened after a period of time in that foxhole, and told at 4 o'clock in the afternoon the whole platoon would be rescued by the Royal Navy. Operation Dynamo, the evacuation of Dunkirk. Bill was told to get down to the water's edge, which he did do, water lapping around his neck, rifle above his head, when a German aircraft came down the beach and opened fire. He dived into the water, came to the surface. The surface was crimson red with the blood of his mates. He was pulled into a small fishing boat by a Royal Naval rating, and then rowed up to a Royal Naval warship where he received the finest meal he's ever had, a corned beef sandwich, mug of tea, and a Woodbine cigarette. He got to Dover, was told at Dover, we know where you've come from. You don't need a ticket. Just get the next train back to your battalion headquarters. In his case, the old TA Hall in Clitheroe. He went from Dover to London, London to Preston, Preston to Clitheroe, and got the branch line back to the town. At the train stopped in some sidings, and he watched a game of cricket being played. These men wearing white flannels playing cricket in the beautiful evening sun. He thought, this is heaven compared to where I've just come from. Mm-hmm. He made his way straight to the TA Hall, Territorial Army Hall. As he opened the door, out of those 57 young men, only 19 had got back. They were told there and then to make up the numbers. In those days, if you were 18, you'd be conscripted. If you were 17, you could join up, but you had to have your mum and dad's permission, and a consent form had to be signed by both parents. Bill was 19, had a young friend who was 17. This young boy said, oh, Bill, go and see me mum and dad. Get them signed this consent form. I want to fight for me country. Bill said this young boy's parents, and they said, sorry, he's our only son. The war could be over next year anyway. He's our only son. Oh, please, mum, please, dad, I want to fight for me country. They gave in on one condition, that condition being that Bill would look after him like a brother. And he swore to both parents that's what he would do. He did his military training. Then the newly formed platoon was sent to the beautiful Greek island of Crete to make up the garrison there, along with the Australian and New Zealand armed forces. On the 21st of May 1941, the Germans launched a highly disciplined airborne invasion of the island of Crete. They needed to get there, take the airbase over so they could bomb the Royal Navy at Alexandria. The British, Australian, New Zealand boys fought tooth and nail, but the Germans had superior equipment, and they were taking what's called Fallschirmjäger and glider-borne infantry, the very cream of the German armed forces. They took the island. In the fighting, the Clipper platoon lost 11 men, one of them being the 17-year-old young boy. Bill was absolutely heartbroken at the death of this young boy, and from his POW camp in Poland, through the Red Cross, he wrote a series of letters to this young boy's parents, just simply begging their forgiveness. They wrote back through the Red Cross and said, "Bill, we do not personally blame you for the death of our son." But Bill did. He got back home in 1945, repatriated, was never, ever the same man. They say he was haunted by the death of this young boy every day. However, things were going to change. On the 24th of December, 1968, he made his way to the parish church office, the old TA Hall, to watch the local amateur operatic society's Christmas play. He was the very last person to leave. He stood outside and lit a cigarette and looked at the wall where the photograph was taken in 1939. His mind went back to that photograph and those 57 young men that stood there that 1939 day. He took a deep inhale from his cigarette and then he extinguished it and walked in front of the building. He turned to the left to go down what we call a little ginnel, a snickle way that would take him down to a street called York Street. As he turned left, he heard 3 whispers. "Hey, Bill! Hey, Bill! Hey, Billy!" He turned round and saw the ghost of the young lad in British Army uniform. The first thing Bill noted was this young boy had not aged a day. He looked exactly as he had done on Crete in 1941. He rose his arm. Bill, don't worry about me, Bill. I'm fine, Bill." With that, Billy's knees gave way. He knelt on the cobblestones and, in his own words, he bellowed like a wounded animal. The tears streamed down his cheeks. He almost yelped in pain. He looked up. The boy turned, waved, smiled, and vaporized. Bill knelt on those cobblestones for a good 15 minutes afterwards, actually whimpering with deep trauma. He got to his feet. He walked through the town that night past the happy Christmas revelers. The last thing he felt was celebrating anything. He was traumatized. However, he got into bed that Christmas Eve and fell into a very, very deep sleep, the sort of sleep he'd not encountered for many years. The following morning, he was woken by the church bells of St. Mary's, St. Paul's, and St. James. He got out of bed and made his way to the bathroom. He opened the bathroom door and caught his reflection in the shaving mirror. He looked again and again and saw a change in his facial appearance. He noted for the first time since 1941, he was actually smiling, and he felt he'd been truly forgiven for the death of this young boy on Crete in 1941. I will never forget Bill's words as he left my home that day. "Simon, I did not believe in ghosts until I saw one with my own eyes." They're Billy's words, not mine. Bill died a good 20 years ago. Because I knew him, I felt obliged to go to his funeral. And as I sat in the pews at St. Paul's Church, the Reverend talked about his previous life, etc. I then went to the interment at the cemetery. There were 2 elderly men by the grave. I had a diplomatic word with both of them, and they said, "Oh yes, we were captured on Crete with Bill." I mentioned the young boy. They both looked in sadness. "Oh yes, Bill was looking after him." As the Germans came towards our position, Bill sent him back to the ammunition truck to hide behind the metal tailgate that would give him some protection, but a German sniper caught him in open ground. Only 2 years ago, I made my way to Crete. I went to the war cemetery there, and I did in fact pay my own respects to this young boy who's been lying there since 1941. But that story came from Bill's heart. Quite a beautiful military story, really.
That's crazy.
For him as well, like to get that closure after so long. Like you say, that must have been like amazing for him.
I do believe that they come to you at the point where they know you are ready for that closure. They don't come to you, at a time where you're not ready to see them.
Yeah, knew what he needed at that moment. And maybe it's the case of also like being back in that location and thinking about that photo that caused that reaction. Your emotions caused that reaction for that to happen.
Right.
Someone like this, the spirit of Billy knew this is the moment. It's now or never. But that's
another thing as well in your story about you saying that the boy appeared to have not changed in his appearance. He looked like he was, still the same. That is a big belief that they actually say that when you die, you either change to a point in your life where you were at the most healthiest, most the best time of your life, happy time, appearance wise. Whether that's where you were young or whether you were old. So maybe at that time that was where he was the most happiest. And that's why he hadn't changed.
Right.
That's crazy. Nick, you're back in now, buddy.
Oh, this time for good. I got so frustrated with my computer that I had to run downstairs and grab my laptop. So now I'm using a different computer. So it seems like connection's working so far. So.
Yeah, way better.
That?
You've been here longer than 30 seconds, so yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I think the problem was, we tried everything, but I think something got screwed up the system. So that's why I had to basically switch computers at that point.
Oh, okay, no worries, dude. At least you're back. Well, you just missed another incredible story.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty upset about this.
That is nuts. That's
Chantel. I just want to let Chantel know I did see her comment about the webcams de Mexico. I'm going to check that out. And
yeah, we can even do a show on that.
I agree with what she said when she said, at least we're not kicking Marty out for a change.
Yeah. Hefty's fired for next week. If he's still listening. But yeah, I agree with you, Chantal, that she says
I don't know, Nick's getting close.
Yeah. You are definitely the best storyteller.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah. You held everybody because the chat was going. Once you started that story, the chat stopped. Like everybody was glued to what you were saying. You're an amazing storyteller. Oh my God.
Yeah. Are you writing a book or releasing a book at some point?
Yeah.
I do have a book on Amazon called Ghostly Tales of the Unexplained. But I find that audio is a lot easier for me, really, because my spelling is abysmal. It really is.
I was going to ask you if you have an audio version because if anything, I'm going to listen to that versus having the book in front of me because I'd rather hear you tell it than actually versus reading it. Yeah.
I think the audio is so much easier, Marty, isn't it? Really, because you don't need to make spelling mistakes. Oh, is that a pint of bitter you got there?
Yeah,
a little bit.
You got one.
Oh, excellent.
It's Friday and I got 14 kids, so yeah.
Oh, great.
Not 14, just 4.
You think you got 3 until you turn around and there's But definitely, I'm going to be checking out I'll probably buy the book and listen to the audio as well.
Yeah. That's now going to be his birthday.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a book guy. I buy books like these ghost books and stuff, and I certainly will be getting all of that one.
School, aren't you?
I like to read, but listening, like obviously listening to you telling that story, then I think I could easily listen.
There's so much more depth to it when he was telling it, so it's way. I think it'd be way better to listen to the audio version.
Definitely.
And I think also, Marty, you can paint a picture in people's imagination that way, can't you? Really?
Yep.
Right.
I mean, that's the joy of audio, isn't it? To paint a picture, really.
Yeah. And that's exactly what you just did with these last 2 little short stories that you were just telling us. Like I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm not. I see my screen, but I see what you're talking about, so I don't see any of this anymore. That's all gone.
Yeah,
so
I was literally picturing everything you were saying in my head.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
You just need the smells and and all the tastes and stuff now, and you've been complete.
You've been complete.
I've got a very beautiful, quite a gorgeous story. There's a bit of romance in this one, really, but again, it was from an eyewitness account, really, and. When I started my tours in a town called Blackburn, I did need some help, and I put an ad in the local press, and I got a response from a marvelous chap called Bill Morris. And again, I met Bill, had a cup of tea with him, and the story he told me was actually from his very heart. You could tell. First of all, he told me he was born very near the railway line, very near the London Midland Scottish Railway line, one of the main lines in Great Britain, actually. And his little garden used to face the line. And as a little boy, he'd sit in the garden, watch the steam engines go by, wave at the engines. And as the engine driver went past, he would always, as the train went past. And Bill told his mum and dad, when I leave school, I'm going to be an engine driver. He left school at the age of 14 and got a job as a wheel tapper. When the trains came into the station, he would tap the wheels and make sure they weren't cracked. He then, at the age of 18, got a job as a fireman on a steam locomotive. And just after his 21st birthday, he got the job of his dreams, a steam engine locomotive driver. So when he went past his mum and dad's house, he would pull the whistle, and they'd go rushing down to wave at him as the train went past. In the summer of 1952, he took the engine down the line from the city of Carlisle right down to the city of Manchester. And just before Manchester is a very, very long tunnel called the Suff Tunnel. He saw a little boy with straw-coloured hair sitting on the fence near the tunnel entrance, waving frantically. Of course, Bill waved at him, knowing exactly what was going through this little boy's mind, having been a little boy himself, of course. He saw him every day for the next 5 weeks. He was always sitting on the fence. However, in October that year, he took the engine down the line and saw the little boy was actually standing in the field next to the fencing, surrounded by sheep, sleeping sheep. As Bill brought the engine down the line, the little boy looked up and started to run towards the fencing. And Bill noted from the footplate, the little boy was running through sleeping sheep. Elbowed the fireman, look at that, look at that. Sorry, mate, too busy shoveling. They got the engine into the tunnel, got down to the city of Manchester. They went to the buffet bar at the city station, and the fireman said, hey, Bill, you've been right quiet, mate. What's the problem? Well, you know that little lad who sits on the fence with the straw-coloured hair near the tunnel entrance? Yeah. Well, today he was in the field. When he saw us, he started to rush across the field, but he was running through sleeping sheep. No. You're seeing things, said the fireman. They got some new freight and came back up north. And as the train was about to enter the tunnel from the Manchester side, Bill saw in the distance a red light. He slowed the engine down. And there, the red light was being held up by a police sergeant. What's wrong, officer? Shouted Bill. Oh, terrible. There's been a young lad killed at the entrance to the tunnel. Oh, Sergeant, that really is terrible. Oh, it is. He lost his brother there 5 years ago. Oh, Sergeant, that's terrible news. Yes, we'd just been to see the parents. It wasn't pleasant. No, it wouldn't be, Sergeant. It wouldn't be, no. Word filtered through that they could take the engine through the tunnel. Bill brought the steam locomotive out into bright sunshine and glanced to the left and saw the straw-coloured haired boy holding the hand of a much taller boy. As Bill turned to wave at them, they rose their arms and both faded into thin air. Bill's hair rose to the back of his head. He elbowed the farm. Look at that. Sorry, mate, too busy shoveling. Bill never saw them again. But when I talked to him, you can always tell, as I mentioned before, when someone is telling a story from the heart. And that came from Bill's heart. Quite a touching story, really.
That's nuts. Wow. That just shows you that it doesn't have to be a building that's haunted. It can be anywhere.
Exactly.
I like the noise effects you did this time as well.
Yeah.
Would you like to hear my train sound? That's the sound of the steel wheels on the rails. It goes a bit like this, really.
Really good.
That's a bit of a tunnel noise, that really, isn't it?
Okay. Not only can you tell a really good story, you can add sound effects too.
Yeah.
How are you not rich by now? Like, seriously.
Well, perhaps I'm good, but not that good, Marty.
Nick, you need to include
You got me, man. I'm hooked.
Yeah, Nick, you need to rewatch this back and take those noises for your videos.
I could do a ghost story with some sound effects if you want, really, folks.
Yeah. I mean, what we got? Yeah, definitely. I'm loving
10
it.
minutes.
Okay, we'll turn the clock back now to the 17th.
I love the way he starts. It's just like he's bringing you back, and he's already like engaging
I
you.
love it. All right,
Love it.
brilliant. This.
1739, and a beautiful old inn called the Punch Bowl Inn, which stands very, very near the city of Preston in the north of England. In 1739, a gentleman of the name of Richard Turpin, commonly known as Dick Turpin, arrived from Essex. Now, he brought with him a young lad called Ned King, and both men had a huge wager on their heads. They were highway robbers. They'd come from Epping Forest and been chased out of Epping by the authorities. They came up north to the northern counties because no one knew them. They booked into the Punch Bowl, but that's when Richard Palmer, commonly known as Dick Turpin, tried the city of York. As we all know, he was captured in the city of York, but he left King at the Punch Bowl. And Ned King got on extremely well with the landlord, a chap called Johnny Briscoe. And it wasn't long before King taught Johnny Briscoe all about highway robbery. The Punch Bowl Inn was a very big coaching inn. When the coach would arrive, King would have a good look and see how much money the gentleman had, what jewelry the ladies had, and then he would gallop at great speed to the Mitten Crossroads, almost like a...
Wow.
He would get to the crossroads, have two muskets and shout, "Stand and deliver!" Between him and Briscoe, they held at no fewer than 14 coaches from 1739, 1741, bringing a fortune back. Now, in those days, we had no police, of course, but what we did have were the Redcoats, the British Army. And a platoon of Redcoats arrived in the local village, and the lieutenant in charge of the platoon said, "Right, gentlemen, I shall take off my red tunic, put a black coat on, pretend to be the driver, and I want 12 marksmen in the coach. We shall catch this man." They made their way towards the Mitten Crossroads. King was waiting. "Stand down, deliver!" As the words "deliver" left his mouth, he heard the words "Volley, fire!" and the army fired from the side of the coach. He received 2 musket balls in the chest, breaking 2 ribs, and bleeding quite badly. He climbed back into his horse and galloped back to the Punch Bowl. When he got back to the Punch Bowl, he shouted, "I've got the army. They're right behind me." They had a contingency plan, and that contingency plan was to have muskets and pistols ready in the hayrick above the bar. The Redcoats surrounded the Punch Bowl Inn, and they fired from all directions. They returned the fire, killing 3 Redcoats, and they fired the last shot. Briscoe said to King, "I'm done for, mate. I'm bleeding to death here. You make a run for it. I've had it, mate. I'm going to die." Briscoe made his way down the back of the drain pipe at the back of the building, ran across 2 fields, but the army caught him, and he was shot on the spot. The firing stopped from inside the Punch Bowl. The lieutenant made his way straight in the building, ran upstairs, grabbed my shirt collar. "Right, my friend. It was my job to take you back to Preston to try you for highway robbery. You've killed 3 of my best men. I'm going to mete out my own justice." He was dragged downstairs. They threw a rope over the nearest beech tree. He was hoisted from his feet. When his feet stopped twitching, they released the pressure, and they buried him by the side of the road. However, Ned's ghost has been seen on quite a few occasions on that road. Now, way back in 1976, here in the United Kingdom, we had, would you believe, a gorgeous summer. The sun shone from the end of March, the end of September, not a drop of rain. It was like living in the Costa del Sol, or indeed New Mexico. It was fantastic, absolutely gorgeous. But as a result, you could drop a match in a field and everything would just ignite. The farmer near the Mitten Crossroads in 1976 telephoned the fire brigade. The local town of Clitheroe dispatched a tender, And when they got there, they thought, this is far too big for us, guys. We need some more help. And Blackburn dispatched the tender. The Blackburn fire crews raced towards the scene at great speed when the driver shouted, "Bloke on a horse, right in front of us!" And they ran him over. They broke every rule in the fire brigade's training manual on stopping an engine on its way to a fire. 5 crew members climbed out of the vehicle. They reversed backwards, expecting to find a horrible, mangled mess of flesh. There was absolutely nothing there. It was put down simply to a sighting of Ned King, the highwayman. Now, these 5 lads, when they got back to the fire station, they all had to make a sworn statement that they'd seen this man on the horse and they'd run him over. In 2009, a taxi driver called Mr. Mark Pinder was driving back from Preston early hours of the morning. He went past the inn, which is a country inn, by the way, and he saw a horse in the centre of the road. He stopped the vehicle and was horrified to see his headlamps shining straight through it. The horse then turned and seemed to jump over his vehicle. He got back to his hometown of Lancaster and told the local Lancaster Guardian newspaper. And a lot of people laughed at him, but not many, because some people had also had the same experience. So that was a story with a sound effect, folks.
I feel like a bit like she says, I feel like I'm sitting on Santa's lap for a bedtime story. It's brilliant. I could listen to your story.
Listen, you honestly remind me, I have to say, you sound and you remind me of like David Attenborough. I mean, you're so captivating. Like David Attenborough, I mean, I could listen to him forever. Just the way he tells a story with his his documentaries on animals and the planet and all this other stuff. It's the same thing for me. Like, you got it, man. Dude, you got
it. Yeah,
it's that
voice. It's that.
Yeah.
It is captivating. Nick, you've got a lot to live up to, dude. Definitely, but oh my god, incredible. So some of the comments also, what we got. Reaper Fiend just said, "Love it. Reminds me of the time at my dad's house in Kentucky. Lisa, whistle, no stranger on at the time at night. I know because I would have. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Hefty, who's not on the show. I could listen to Simon read the ingredients on a cereal box. Definitely got that voice.
Yep.
Jeff agrees with you as well. What else we got here? Melius is Simon, you are talented.
I don't think my wife would agree with that one.
You're very talented.
And he's a comedian. He's got it all. It's all good.
But oh my god, we've definitely got to have you on again. We need to do just your stories that you've got.
There's a lot of
we'll do story time with Simon. We'll name the show that.
Yeah, literally. We should sit and listen to the story.
What I find amazing though is the fact that you can actually remember in detail all these stories.
Oh my god, yeah.
I always find when I do a brand new tour. That's the hardest one because you're using brand new material. But once you've used it, it's there forever. And I always find, I do guided tours of some beautiful halls, which I know Nick and Marty would love in the United Kingdom. These gorgeous Tudor buildings, lovely Tudor buildings. And each room, they have different stories. And I've done many tours of these halls, and I never get tired of it. You might cover the same story twice. Sometimes twice in one day, but it's better than digging a hole, folks, isn't it? Really, or doing a hard labor. But one of the halls I conduct tours in is called Salmesbury Hall. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful building, and there's a story there of the White Lady. She's called Lady Dorothea, and we're going to turn the clock back now to the 1530s, and at that period of time. England had a huge problem with the Catholic and Protestant faiths. And this is very much a story of religion in some ways, but we'll turn the clock back now to a beautiful, beautiful May morning. Waking up in the hall is a beautiful young girl called Dorothea Southworth. She got out of bed, made her way down this twisting staircase to the hall, across the manicured lawns, over the moat, and into the forest. As she walked into the nearby forest, she came across a very, very handsome young lad called D. Horton from a place called Horton Towers. He was a landowner's son. So boy meets girl, landowner meets landowner. It's love at first sight, a relationship made in heaven, but a huge problem for Dorothea. She went back and told her mother and father. Her father was furious. We're Catholics. They are Protestants. You will never ever see him again, lass. If you do, I'll have you banished. You'll live with the nuns in the south of France. We're Catholics. They're Protestants. I swear to you, he will never ever have your hand in marriage. If anything, this threat seemed to fuel their love. In the dead of night, she would leave her bed, make her way across the manicured lawns over the moat and into the forest to meet young de Horton. Her father warned her for the last time. If you continue with this relationship, I promise you, I will have you banished. You will live with the nuns in Marseille. We're Catholics. They are Protestants. He then told her two brothers, tonight, do what's necessary. On a beautiful, beautiful moonlit night, Dorothea left her bed. She tiptoed past what she thought were her sleeping brothers. She tiptoed past what she thought were her sleeping parents. She made her way over the bridge, over the moat, and there on the fringe of the forest was young de Horton, illuminated in bright, bright moonlight. He bowed. He affectionately kissed her hand, reached into his pocket and produced a huge diamond ring studded with jewels. Dorothea, Dorothea, will you end this heartache and become my wife? A huge smile came across her face, and she gratefully accepted the proposal. They hugged each other in the moonlight on the fringe of the forest. And then they heard shouting. Out of the forest appeared Dorothea's two brothers, armed with two sharp knives. They viciously, maliciously murdered the poor lad right in front of her. Her heart was snapped in two. She was dragged back into the building, and the following morning she made the long journey to Marseille to live with the nuns in the south of France. On arriving there, that poor girl never drank again, never slept again, and never ate again. And she died literally of a broken heart. That's when the sightings of the White Lady of Samlesbury have taken place. There's been so many sightings, we'll be here till, well, for the next 15 hours, but I'm going to choose just two stories relating to it. In 1879, in the nearby towns of Blackburn and Preston, we had what's called textile rioting. All the factories went on strike for strike action, and there's lots of alcohol-fueled rioting. As a result, the army were called in, and the regiment chosen to look after that part of the world was the 24th Regiment of Foot, the South Wales Borderers, under the command of Lieutenant Colonel John Pauline. He and his fellow staff officers took over Samlesbury Hall, and he toasted the regiment. Right, gentlemen, we shall retire for the night. He climbed into his bunk, fell into a deep sleep. In the early hours of the morning, was woken by a sobbing sound. That's strange. Not one of my men. Sounds like a female to me. He opened the curtains and looked into the ground to Samlesbury Hall, and there, in between the horse chestnut tree and the yew tree, he could see a female figure that looked to be very, very distressed. Being an officer and a gentleman, he got dressed quickly and rushed down the spiral staircase, across the lawns, and shouted, "Ma'am! Ma'am! Can I be of assistance to you, ma'am?" The figure slowly turned, and where there should have been a face was a hollow, dark cavity. The colonel screamed. He was no coward. He'd taken the life of many a Russian soldier in the Crimean Wars, but he rushed back into the building, ran upstairs, and reached for his British Army regulation hip flask and consumed the contents. The following morning, he had breakfast with the Harrison family, who owned the hall, and they laughed. "Oh, Colonel, don't worry. You've seen the White Lady, Lady Dorothea. She's been with us since 1535. The colonel had no idea. He was going to meet her personally. His regiment, the 24th, was sent overseas, where they joined Lord Chelmsford's ill-fated No. 3 column and invaded Zululand in Natal State, South Africa. There, beneath the rocky outcrop in Natal State called Isandwana, King Katsaway, the Zulu king, unleashed his Zulu impis and swamped the British lines, wiping out the entire 24th Regiment of Foot. It said the colonel formed a square with the remnants of his brigade and toasted the regiment before he succumbed to the Zulu assegai. In 1926, a very, very important find took place at Samlesbury Hall. The road near the building was widened to take more heavier traffic, and they put what's called a herringbone drainage system across the lawns. One of those drainage ditches went in between the horse chestnut and the yew tree, and a foot of an adult skeleton was exposed. They brought in the Blackburn CID, the local criminal investigation department. They removed a lot more soil, and the sergeant in charge of the excavation said, "Well, it looks like we've got a murder here, lads, but I don't think we'll catch the culprit because this lad's been here for at least 300 or 400 years." More soil was taken from the grave, and there on one of the fingers was this huge ring studded in jewels and diamonds. As they looked inside it, it had the words Dorothea de Horton. It was none other than young de Horton, who had been murdered by the two Southwark boys all those years ago and buried in the grounds of Samlesbury Hall. And that would explain why the White Lady of Samlesbury will make her way to the very grave of the only boy that ever showed her any love, any warmth, and any affection.
That's nuts.
Oh my god.
That is nuts.
Wow.
These stories, do you like? Are these all in like your audio things and that?
Some of them are. I do have. If you were to go to YouTube and put Simon Entwistle Tales from the Grave, you'll see a whole battery of them. All in YouTube, and of course the tours. There's even Jack the Ripper on there as well, which is a great story. Really.
Guys, obviously they're asking like, can we watch this later and stuff. So, guys, it will be on this live show. It will be on our YouTube channel. It does get loaded up. I don't know if it's straight away. It might take a few hours.
Yeah, it takes a couple hours. Yeah,
but it will be up so you guys can listen back to these stories. But please, guys, check out obviously on YouTube Simon Entwistle, and also Simon, I'll put your the links to your pages and your tour group in the description below for guys who are watching, if they would like to please check them out, because this is we've got to have you on again and listen to your stories.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It would be my pleasure, honestly.
But we are.
Thank you.
No worries. Honestly, it's incredible having you on. Like I could listen to you all night. I could just sit in and not say anything, just listen to your stories. But we are running over, guys. But wow, what a show! Yeah, honestly, I love it. I love it. But right at the end, so Simon, right at the end, we do a little game called Shot in the Dark. You may have heard of it. It's just a general knowledge game. Considering your knowledge, you're probably going to smash this. These are just general trivia. Nobody really knows the answers. They're just random questions. It's just a bit of fun that we do at the end of the show for everyone. But I would like to say, like before we finish, like thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
Nick, thank you so much for finding Simon. Like
I've seen him on all these shows, and I've always been so amazed by his stories. So I thought he'd be perfect to have on. So I mean, is it be incredible or what?
Yeah, absolutely.
We are gonna do story time with Simon as a show.
I love that name.
Yeah, I like
story time with Simon.
Definitely.
Thank you, everyone in the comments as well.
Yeah, we've been reading your comments, and guys, you can tell when you was talking because the comments just went silent.
Yeah,
and everyone's
right.
Honestly, you're captivating, very captivating, Simon. So thank you. But yeah, so a few quick questions to the end of the show, guys. Guys in the comments, please take part. And I think who won last week? Was it Hefty? Did quite well last week. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think Hefty was the one who won
last week. So. All right, so the random question. The first one is, which colour appears on the most national flags? Which colour appears on the most national flags?
Red.
Probably white.
I was going to say either one, so you guys pick one. I'll go with it.
I'm going to go white.
I think I'll go with red.
Simon.
I might go for blue.
Blue.
Oh, blue.
Okay.
Yeah,
good
right.
shout. Yeah.
Blue does show up a lot, too.
Yeah.
Chantal says white. Jeff says red. Nick, what are you going?
I was going to go with red.
Red. I think red. Green says Tui. I said red. You can forget you with Tui.
Yeah. Green.
Tui says green. Marty, what are you saying?
Red, white, or blue.
Red.
Possibly green.
Which one are you going for?
Green.
Oh, you should have stuck with red. Red is 77% of national flags.
Yeah.
All
It
right.
makes sense, yeah. Like almost every flag.
All right, what's this one? What was the global population in the year 1 AD? In the year 1 AD, what was the global population?
Oh God.
Can't be that many, surely.
No, I had to be a very small population.
1.2
I
billion.
reckon very small.
1.2 billion. Is that what you're going with, Marty?
I have no idea. I mean, I was wrong on green, so I'll be wrong on this one too.
Ooh. I'm gonna go 500,000.
Oh, it literally Jeff literally said exactly.
This happened last week. Me and Jeff are almost like on the same level.
No, he meant 500 million.
We did this last week, and he wrote it as soon as I said it. That's weird.
I was at least going to say 1 million. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Chantel, 800,000. Simon, what are you saying?
Well, I reckon I'm going to go for like 1.5 million world population.
I'll go 2 million there.
2 million. Who says 500,000? I say 10 people. If you're right, that's great. It is estimates the population was approximately 300 million.
300 million. Okay.
Well,
300 million. Wow.
I think it was Jeff and Tom.
Jeff was close. Yeah, 500,000. He said.
Yeah, that was by the UN. The UN estimated the population to be 300 million. Crazy.
crazy.
Right, last one then before we go because we're running a bit over. But true or false? Shuttlecocks are never made from a combination of feathers from the left and right wings of a right. Hang on, I need to read that again. Jesus. True or false? Shuttlecocks, everyone knows what shuttlecock is, yeah, for badminton.
Yep.
Are never made from a combination of feathers from the left and right wings of a bird. All right, so
I'd say true.
They're never made from the left and right wings.
Right, they're only made from one or the other.
It's got to be, hasn't it? Surely, because otherwise it wouldn't spin.
I don't know actually. Would it? I'm going to say false, just to be different.
You go false. I'm going to say
I'll
true.
say true.
True.
Simon?
I might go for false, folks.
Oh, false. Yeah. Chantel, false. Jeff says true.
Yeah,
Hefty, what are you saying on this one, buddy, before I say? See if he's there. Is he there?
You still there, Hefty?
I've probably blown his mind. He's probably trying to understand the question. Yeah, you can only count to 10. That's why he said 10 people. He's not on the show. I'm allowed to rip him.
I'm glad it's him this time and not me.
All right, we'll go. He's Googling. Yeah, he's Googling.
You're probably right, Chantel.
Yes.
True all around.
True all round. Okay.
Okay.
Well, it is true.
Oh.
It says if both left and right wing feathers are used, the trajectory of the shuttlecock would be affected.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's smart. All right. Well, that is the end of the show, unfortunately, but we are having you on again, Simon, if you would like
Absolutely.
to. Absolutely.
Thanks for being on, Simon.
It would be my pleasure. I can honestly say I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Oh, good. That's good to hear. Yeah, like
everybody in the chat enjoyed it. We all enjoyed it. Yeah.
Like that one about the soldier, especially like that, is really in my mind.
Well, it's close to home, isn't it?
Yeah, because I've been in the army as well. That's really sticking to.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. But again, thank you so much for coming on, guys. In the comments, thank you so much for all your comments. Obviously, you make the show, guys. When you're watching, they come back every week. Hefty, have a good night. Hopefully, we'll see you next week, buddy. Next week we are doing YouTube reactions, so we're going to be reacting.
That's going to be good. Yeah, that'll be good.
Okay.
Crazy videos on YouTube. Nick, I got something to say before we go, buddy.
Yeah. Well, two things. Our next guest that we'll hopefully have on real soon, Simon. I think you might know her actually. Is hang on a second. Where did it go? I just had the list. Give me a second here. Oh wait, here it is. I think we got Charlotte Underwood coming on at some point.
Yes. Yeah.
She's going to be coming on real soon. She's Tom, Amy, Marty, if you guys don't know who she is, she's another psychic medium. So I've reached out to her. She wanted to come on, and she's agreed to come on. I got to figure out exactly when, though.
Yeah, I must say, if she wasn't a psychic, she'd make a very good Miss World. A very, very attractive young lady, I can assure you.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so.
Oh, and sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Because I said I had 2 announcements. Then I know I've told you guys previously, privately, but it's separate from this show, but as some of you guys know, I'm actually going to be starting a new series real soon. It's going to be kind of a spin-off, if you will. I'm going to be starting that in about 2 weeks. But unlike, the shows I've been doing here on the Paranormal United Network, it's not going to be a paranormal talk show podcast. I mean, I'll still have guests every once in a while, but I've developed a fascination with developing a gameplay series where I'm going to be playing different survival horror games, which I'm probably going to do on Wednesday nights around 8 p.m. CST, probably for an hour and a half or so. And, I'm really, really looking forward to it. It'll be my first show that I'll be doing independently without any co-hosts. So it'll be,
Cool.
it'll be really exciting, because everyone's always asked me that I should have my own show, but I never really figured out exactly what I would do. And then all of a sudden this idea came up. So not exactly a talk show, but it's still obviously a podcast regardless.
Right. Yeah.
No, go for it. Yeah. Well, we'll promote it on here as well. So guys, when Nick does start this, we will put the links to all of it in the description below the video, so you guys can check that out. So until next week, Marty, it's week after next, isn't it, that we're doing UFOs?
Yes.
So next week, YouTube reactions. That's it from us, I think. Yeah, we're going to try and film another doll video this weekend. Hopefully we get some activity, but you never know. The guys are a little bit quiet at the moment, but we've got our eyes on a few other haunted dolls.
I was gonna say, you got to get another doll to shake things up a little bit.
Yeah, we've got eyes.
Make the other ones mad.
Yeah, we're gonna end up turning into a museum by the time we finish. So guys, enjoy the rest of your week. Stay safe, and we will see you next Friday. Simon, thank you again so much.
Yes, thank you again, Simon.
And we will have you on again. See you later, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Stay spooky.